Welcome to week 2 on the Guardium Compliance Series. Last week we talked about 2 new features, controls and thresholds, and I showed a use case related to grant and revoke statements and reviewing of those. Today I want to do another one, probably my favorite Guardium use case back when I was a practitioner. This kind of analysis was always fruitful. It's kind of easy to find this kind of behavior going on. And what behavior is that? Well, it's people sharing credentials. Most often these are generic accounts. So they create a generic database account and then for like a team. And that's easier to create and get provisioned than it is for individual users, for everyone on the team. And then everybody shares that username and password. They probably share it, if they're really sophisticated via Vault, but most of the time, it happens through instant messaging or emails. And there's the credential, the username and password for probably a pretty powerful credential if it's used by multiple people. So all kinds of reasons why you don't want to do that. You want to discourage sharing of credentials in an organization. Makes sense. And as a result, it's in a lot of standards. One of them is NIST 853. It's called IA2, to uniquely identify and authenticate organizational users and associate that unique identification with a process acting on behalf of those users. Okay, great. So you have to uniquely identify them. We are looking for instances where they are not unique. And also you'll see it in like HIPAA, where it specifically says to assign a unique name and or number for identifying and tracking user identity. So good, let's create a control that deals with uniqueness. So let's call this on unique, UNQ for unique, and then unique identification of users. All right, and so the theme here is database activity monitoring, and we'll just add a tag risk. Sure. One thing to note, this is not, there's another related Guardium concept, application user translation, where you try and identify an end user via pooled connection. This is a little bit different than that. This is, the users aren't unique to begin with. The users are just connecting with the same database account. Normally where this happens is like business analysts will share an account. Those are the guys who do a lot of like BI analysis with something like Tableau, and they're connecting to a whole bunch of different databases, and they'll use a shared account. So it's more for that kind of user. All right, and so let's add those requirements. One is NIST, and that's IA2. All right, IA2, and let's just copy and paste this description. And this is the URL. All right, and then we'll add the one for HIPAA, and we'll add the code here, and we'll add a description. And as I mentioned last week, you would probably add your own organization's security requirements here too, right? So these are the external ones, but then you would also amend these with the internal requirements that your security organization has probably identified. So let's create this. Great. So let's add a component. This is going to be a report. Haven't created this report yet, so let's go do that. All right, the report I have in mind here is to get the number of database users I'll get the database users, and then find the OS users that are associated with them. So a distinct number of OS users to database users. So this is if you're wondering what the difference between an OS user and database user is, so an OS user is what the user logs into their laptop with, or their workstation, or the server that they're remoting into. That is the OS user. So I log into my laptop as John, and then John Haldeman, and then they log into the database. Well, it should be an individual, like probably the same username. It should be whoops, didn't mean to do that. And let's take that off. Timestamp display and do dates. Okay, so it should be that I log in with John, but instead I use a shared account, a shared generic account. So I'll apply that. Okay. All right, and now we have our report. We have a indicator of credential sharing. It's just an indicator. You can see Dave Terry here was used by 7 different OS users. So it's not highly likely that David Terry is being shared across multiple people. Same thing with Victor and Farland, etc. All right, so let's save this. Let's go. Number of unique OS users for database for DB users, and indication of credential sharing, multiple OS users per DB user. All right, so now we have our base report. It's also, I added the date here so that we can see it per day. All right. Okay, well, since we're here, let's do a little bit more for this use case, because it's about the use case, not just the compliance features. So let's use some of the older features that we had introduced in the past. For instance, okay, so we got Spark Share. Maybe we want to know more information about this DB user. So, eventually we have to contact someone to tell them to please stop sharing the credential. And so we want to get the details about DB user Sparks. So let's create what's called an investigation link from this report to another Guardium report. This is a built-in one called Connection Profiling List, which just has the connection information. And then what we're going to do is we're going to filter by the database user. And so this is connection details for user. Yeah, we'll create this investigation link. Close that. And now if they click on Sparks and they click go to links, they can click on this and it will run another report on the details for Sparks. So now you can see what client IPs they used. Maybe you add, client host name here to the target report. Client host name can be useful, so you can find maybe the user via their the host that they own, the laptop that they own, or what we're doing is concentrating on OS users. So OS user would be useful here. This is test data. This is not very, very interesting, but what you would see is hopefully multiple individual users in that column. Okay, so good. We got that. So now we have an investigation link, and let's also add a chart. So we'll add a chart where we have date, database user, and the number of OS users. Okay, this isn't very exciting. There's actually a better representation of this, I think, and it's a heat map. This is all using our Flex Charts feature. which you may have seen in the past. So it allows for lots of customization of charts. What I'm going to do here is flip the X and Y axis. So now you can see we have a whole bunch of users on the bottom and dates on the left. Still a little bit crowded though. Let's take out the angle on the dates. Perfect. And let's make this temporal so that the dates are, yeah, there you go. That's now we have the weekdays. Weekdays can be also interesting and useful because we know you got the Wednesday and the Monday here. So that's good. If you're seeing a lot of new OS users on weekdays compared to weekends, it could be an indication that, hey, these are actually human users abusing their account rather than servers that are logging in and running batch processes. Good. All right, and let's make this -90 here. Oh, not 490, 90. Okay, good. All right, so that's looking pretty good. All right, so we'll add that chart, that heat map, to it. There's a bunch of lines. Actually, let me modify that real quick. I don't like those grid lines, so let's go grid false, and we'll do the same for this axis. Good. If you're wondering what I'm doing here and you would like more information on the chart framework, if you've never seen this before, there's a website called gicharts.github.io that will show you a whole bunch of examples, and all of those charts are built by in a framework called Vega or Vega Lite. You can use either, with lots of examples here. All right, so you can create your own custom charts to your heart's content. Okay, there we go. We have that. Maybe one final thing is there's a bunch of users in here that are where there's only one OS user, and so maybe we want to remove those. And so let's go and add a little threshold here, a little criteria on distinct OS users, and have anything with greater than or equal to 2. So now we have to have 2 OS users to show up in the report. Great. All right. So now we have the OS users that should probably, well, the DB users that are shared, and we should go talk to the OS users to cut it out. All right, so let's save this. Pretty good report. Has a drill down. Oh, by the way, the drill down works in the chart too. So now that's pretty good. All right, so we got the chart, we got the drill down, we got the report, and that is what we can add to our control for the user that is going to investigate all these guys. All right, to refresh this list. And what did I call it? I called it number of unique. All right, so we'll go down here. A unique OS user for DB users. All right, we'll add that. Perfect. Now it's in our control. People will know why I created this report. It's to help satisfy this requirement. And that it's nice we have a control. Next thing is for a threshold. So let's go to thresholds, and what I'm going to do here is create a report to use in the threshold. So remember, in last week we talked about how thresholds are to use a report with 2 numbers, or 2 reports with a number each. There's a numerator and a denominator. And so to get an idea of how widespread credential sharing is in the organization, what might be useful is a ratio. You could get the ratio of the number of database users to OS users. And if the number, basically the average number of DB users per OS user. Well, OS users per DB user. And then you can use that to get an idea of how widespread credential sharing is. So let's do that. So we'll create database activity here. We'll create a similar thing, DB user, OS user, and we'll add the connection start. We'll make that a date like we did before. Similar report to what we created before, except this time we're going to make both distinct. Okay, and what this metric will, well, the threshold will effectively do is take the number of OS users, 150, and divide by the number of DB users, 46. And so then you know there are about 3 OS users per database user. So the OS user to DB user ratio. All right. All right, and used in the OS user to DB user ratio threshold. All right. Okay, and so I don't have to type that again. Let's save this, and we'll save this. Okay, so now we're going to take that. We're going to take these numbers and use them in our threshold. So let's go do our thresholds. And we'll create a new one. All right, and then this is the ratio of shows the average number of OS users per DB user every day. All right, and yep. And then okay, so we got we're gonna assign that to unique, and then we're gonna go what did I call this report? I went away, so I think it was I think no. Yeah, statistics for unique OS users and DB users. So we're going to go the OS user, the number of distinct OS users, and divide by the number of distinct database users. And we're going to say, okay, so if you have more than 4 OS users per database user, you get a failing grade, or poor. But if you have less than 2, that's pretty good. Then you're considered good. All right, so this shows the number of, okay, so there's a recommendation here. So contact users that appear to be sharing accounts and ask them to get individual accounts if the account is shared between, if the account is not being shared by a human user, the thresholds report. Okay, and you can do that. So you can this user, the statistics on OS users and DB users. If there's a particular DB user that you know is or OS user DB user combination, or anything that you know is not a concern, you can go edit the report and add those exceptions. So that has that flexibility for you. So I added that to there. All right, so let's create this. Okay, OS user to DB user ratio. Let's go view this. All right, and so we have a fair here. So that we have, at least for yesterday, 3.26 OS users per DB user. So on average, you'll see 3 OS users for every database user. Great. I didn't show you this in the previous demo, and I want to try and include additional features for each one. So this particular threshold, because the OS user and DB user are event-based in these DAM reports, you can actually run the metric on historical data. So if we want to go back a week, we can do that and click rerun here. And so what happens, so it goes into calculating state, but you can actually monitor the state as it calculates by running this built-in report, this compliance job status report. You'll see this running tick up over time. There you go. It's finished the 19th, finished the 20th, and now it is successful. So, okay, great. So I should go back here, and if I refresh my threshold, I can see the historical data. In this test data, it's kind of boring, but you can see that yesterday actually there was a dip. We used to be around around 4, not quite at 4, but then it dipped down to 3.26 yesterday. That's interesting, but because the measure didn't change. The measure is 150. So if you see actually a dip in the result, but your measure is stable, what that means is the number of OS users didn't go down, but the number of database users went up. All right, so that's why we provide both graphs, because it tells you additional information based on the patterns of the data that you're analyzing, right? So did my denominator go up or down, or did my measure go up and down? You can look at these two reports and understand what happened in both cases. Okay, all right. Good. That's what I wanted to show you. This is the unique users use case for compliance with Guardium. I hope you liked it. This was week 2. Next week we'll have another interesting, hopefully, use case. Thanks for watching.